I'm Cheryl Stokes and I like to teach crafts and arts. And today I want to teach a class on quilling. Quilling is usually done with paper and it's an ancient art. Quilling is taking paper and rolling it up with special tools that make fancy designs. You can do all sorts of fun things with quilling. You could get maybe some from the library, and these books will show examples of cards you can make, tools you'll need. Here's a real cute one with some fish, and there's a sun and a seashell. Lots of pretty things you can do with quilling. This is a little hard to see, but this is called a tunnel book. And quilling is used for the front part of it to make a bird and some tree leaves. That's a fun thing to make. I want to talk about some of the tools that you either need or can get. One thing is paper. This is a really nice type of paper you can buy easily at Mart, not very expensive. And it needs to be cut into strips. And here's some strips that I've cut from this paper. You can cut different widths. I have some thinner ones, and then here's some nice fat ones. You can do different thicknesses of paper to make quilling. It's nice if you can make a straight line. The way that you would make a straight line could either be with a paper cutter, like this. This is what I use. Or you could use a ruler and scissors and a pencil. The important thing about quilling is to make your stripes even in size. So we'll take a piece of paper and I'll show you how to make even stripes. You would take the edge and mark it in the size you want. And if you want a 1/4 inch, it would be this big, and you would make your marks like that. There's a 1/2 inch there. That'd be if you wanted to make a fat one, and these would be skinnier ones. And then you do the same thing on this side. Do some 1/4 inch marks. And then a 1/2 inch. And then put your ruler on one of those dots. Then come to the other end and line it up with your eyes, line up the ruler. Then you put your ruler there. I made it a little bit fat, so I'm going to adjust it. Make the lines across like that. Then you can cut it with the scissors. Another way to do it, if you want to do 2 at a time, would be to fold it. This is kind of like a shortcut. Fold it like this. Now that means I can do twice as many at a time. And because it's folded, the 2 papers aren't going to twist and shift. Some other tools. These are more expensive than cutting it yourself, but if you're doing something special where you want them to be exactly the same size, these might be the way to go. You can order these online. Combs are another tool that can be used. This is like a pet comb. You can also use a regular comb and it will make even finer loops. We use this for making loops, and I'll show you how to do that. This isn't necessary, but you can use it if you're making some shapes and you want them all to be the same size. You can put them in these different compartments, and so you can make them all the same size. Now I have some loops that I made that would be ones that I can use to make things all the same size. These are my own sizes. So you can make loops out of paper if you have your own sizes you want to make. Another thing that's really good to have are tweezers, because we will be picking up these little shapes, and it's kind of nice to use tweezers. Also, when we're doing the glue, it's nice to squeeze like this on the joints, because if you put your fingers in there, sometimes you've got a bunch of coils in there and you can't get your fingers in there. So tweezers are another really good thing to have. These are the quilling tools, and these are used for everything. And they've got little slots in here, and the slots are meant for putting the paper in. So we put the paper in there. We only need one, we don't need two tools. Put the paper in, and you pull it right down to the edge and turn it. Okay, let me get in there, okay. Then turn it, trying to keep it as close to the edge as you can. And then you just turn it round and round like this. Try and keep your hands still. Almost to the end. I can feel I'm almost to the end. Now this that I'm making right now is called a tight circle. So if I put a dab of glue right there, let me open my glue, just a tiny dab of glue. And that's a little too big. A tiny dab of glue right there. Whoops. Better to have your glue open before you do it. Hold it tight. Now that got all catawampus, so I'm gonna kind of squeeze it this way to straighten it because I got it crooked. Okay, now I can do this and just hold it there for a few seconds. If you just hold it there, that lets the glue adhere. Now when I take it off, I need to be careful to push the whole thing off like that and push it all off at once. Now, if I just grab the outside and pull it off, what do you think is going to happen? You want to see it? If you just grab it, see how the middle comes out? You can get the middles coming out that way. Now, maybe you want that. Maybe you think that's pretty cool to make a shape like that. Almost looks like the tip of a crayon, doesn't it? Okay. So I can push it back in again. That's called a tight closed circle. All right. You can see there are lots of shapes that you can make, and a lot of them start with a coil. You can see all these coils here I made ahead of time, just so I'd be ready to show you all the different ones. There's something called an open coil and a closed coil. Okay, that one is a closed coil because I glued it shut. I don't see an open coil, so I'll make an open coil to go with those. We want to have our glue ready ahead of time. So this is school glue, and that works just fine. There's other kinds of glue. It works good if you can squirt some into a container and use a toothpick. My cat was in it, so I gotta move the cat here. Okay, so you can dip a toothpick. This is a little bigger. This is a skewer for barbecues, but a toothpick works fine too. So just a little dab is all you need. If you used this and squirted on, a lot of times too much is going to come out. So it's better to have something like that to use. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to make a closed coil. You put the paper in the slot and try to get it so it's pretty close to the end. Otherwise it leaves a bit of a kink in the middle, which is okay, and sometimes we want the kink to be there. And I'm turning the tool, and I'm holding this, like pinching it, and try not to make it go off to the side, either side. That will make it crooked. So try to hold it still while you're turning the tool. If you could see that and look at it from this side. Okay. And when you get near the end, this is where you would decide if you want open or closed coil. For a closed coil, you would just let it go and then glue it. This is the tight circle that we made before, like this one. A tight circle, and here's another one, a different size. You can make them in different sizes. I could tear the paper in half if I wanted a smaller one, okay, and just do half a page of paper or a quarter or whatever I need, depending what size I want. Okay, so now one of the things you can do is straighten it out here if it went crooked. Then you have to slip it off both sides at once. So just kind of push. See See how I'm pushing with my fingernail? Push it off like that. And that way it will lay straight. And I'm giving it another little pinch like this to help it to lay straight. Then set it down, and can you see it's growing? It grows. And if you want it to be bigger, you can kind of touch it a bit and help it to grow a little bit bigger. And if not, that's how big you want it. I like to use my tweezers, and I'm gonna find the edge, turn it till I find the edge, there it is. Gonna open that up, then I'll take a dab of glue and put a little dab just on the tip. You don't have to glue the whole thing, just the tip. Now, you could smooth it down like that with your fingers, but see how it tends to pop up? That's one reason why I like the tweezers. So I can give it a little pinch. Pinch like that on the edge and check here and see if it went straight. If not, you could maybe open it up again while it's still not set, while the glue isn't set. There we go. That one is closed now. It was open, now it's closed. We have several different shapes that are made with a closed coil like those. So one of the shapes is, let's see, where's the teardrop? That's a kind of teardrop there. And where's the other teardrop? I'll make one. To make a teardrop, oh there, I found my open coil. Put that one there. To make a teardrop, you make a closed coil, just like we just did, and then hold your finger on, see how there's a circle in the middle? Kind of pinch that. Pinch the circle there, then pinch there. See how it came to a point, but I didn't pinch it all the way into the circle. Came to a point. That is a teardrop shape. And you can turn it into a curled teardrop shape, curved, by either doing that, or you can take your tool, depends how curly you want it. You could take your tool and kind of roll it around the tip of the tool and make it even more of a curled point. So here's a teardrop and the curved point on the teardrop. Another fancy one is called marquee. I'll make a marquee. Marquee is a shape like this. It looks like an eyeball. And you might even think of it as a football shape. You start by making a coil, just like we did for all the others, and glue the edge, just like we did for this green one. Then you want to pinch it on two places. See how you pinch here and straight across. Pinch both of those, and you can try and keep that in the center if you want it in the center, and pinch those both. And that is called a marquee, and it's spelled M-A-R-Q-U-I-S. You can make it a fancy marquee by curling, either with your fingers, curling the edges, or if you want it even more curled, you can take your tool and curl the tips a little bit with your tool. I like to do it in opposite directions, like that. One curled down and one curled up. And there's another one right there. Okay, there's a marquee, and then a marquee with the curled tips. Here is a crescent shape, the crescent moon, okay? You do that the same as a marquee, except when you pinch it, instead of pinching it straight across like that, you want to go a little bit closer. See how my thumbs are a little closer than straight across, like that. So it'll be kind of curled. Whoops, it's trying to pop out the middle. So I'll pinch it one place, pinch it another. Okay, then curl the tips in. Okay, and that moon is a little different than that moon. You can make it different depending how you do it. That's also the same way we make the half circle. This is a half circle. It's made the same way, except I didn't curl the edges yet. And curl the edges to make it be the moon. So if you stop, before you put the curls in, you've got a half a circle. Another shape is a triangle. To make a triangle, you take your glued closed coil and you've got to pinch one edge like that, like the teardrop. Then turn it around so the pinch is facing away and pinch two more like that. And you can make different shaped triangles depending on how you pinch them. There's another triangle. Got two triangles there. Okay, now another shape is the square. The square is made by starting with the marquee or the eye shape, by pinching it across from each other, straight across. Then turn it, and in the middle there, pinch it, and in the middle here, pinch it, and squeeze that. And it's not always a perfect square, but depending how you do it, it's square-ish. Okay, that is something like a square or a rectangle, depending on how you do it. Okay, another one that I really like is right here, and they look like ocean waves. And that is fancy, but not too hard to make. So let me show you how you do that one. You put your tool in the slot, but don't put it on the tip like we were doing before. You put it about that far in, maybe half an inch or so, and just do this measurement each time. So just remember that about this measurement, and then fold that down. Now I'm holding it like this, and then I'm going to curl it until, see that little tab there? Until I get to the end of that tab, and kind of pinch it a little bit. And then I'm going to slide that off carefully, like that. Then, see the coil? I'm going to put the tab in about that same measurement. Can you see that's about the same? And I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to turn it till it folds down, like that. And then coil it until I get the two coils to meet, like that. And then I'm going to slide it out carefully, and I'll just repeat that over and over. I didn't quite come very close here from this curl to that one. That's where I made it a little messy. Okay, now I'm going to show you. These are called scrolls. There's different kind of scrolls. See how it's shaped kind of like a V? There you go. Now to make those, you want to start with folding your strip in half to find the middle. Okay, that's the middle, and pinch it. Then with this V here, the curls are going to be scrolling this direction. Sometimes you might want the curls to go in this direction, or one this way and the other opposite. Or this way. This is an S. That's another scroll. And this one is a heart. I made a heart by doing this. This is with the scrolls both going in the same direction. They call that a C, almost like a C, and this is the V. So we have C, S, and V, and a heart. So I'll show you how to do those. see one has a long scroll and one is shorter. And this might be good for flowers. If you wanted to make these pretend to be the leaves of flowers, and then put another one coming up here to be more. Okay, so if you wanted to, you can glue those together right there. So if you were making a butterfly, this would be good for the antenna of the butterfly if you glue it right there. I have a butterfly right here. I used a small scroll, but you could use a big scroll if you wanted, to be the body, and then the little feeler things coming up, antenna or feelers coming up from the butterflies. A heart is made one way is by taking this is a C scroll, like the letter C. So instead of keeping it a C, I would make that more of a pinch in the middle instead of just a rounded spot, and pinch it, and that becomes a heart. And so I would put just a little dab of glue right there and hold it together until it's dry, and that becomes a heart like this one. Okay, now I can show you how to make a butterfly. Now this is one way to make a butterfly. You can come up with a lot of different ways to make butterflies, but one way is to take your glued closed circles, closed coils, and pinch one edge, and it makes a teardrop, just like these green ones. I've already done those. And here's another one. And see where it's glued right there? It's kind of nice to put that on one of the straight edges. That's the glue joint. It's kind of nice to put that about right there instead of sticking out right there. That makes it a little easier to work with. Okay, so for a butterfly, you can use all four the same color if you want, or you can use different colors, but you would have wings right there. And these wings could go like that, or you can turn them this way, and they could go like that. You get different looks depending how you want to do it. With this one, I pinched the top and the bottom, and I used a shape that's the marquee. So see, you could use all different shapes for the butterfly. So if you had two of those matching, it would be good for a butterfly. So to make this, we'll want to glue them. I'm gonna put it over here and get my glue. So we need something to be the feelers. So let's have this be the feelers, and put a little bit of glue in there. On the V, we made a V scroll, and pinch it. This part I'm pinching together right here is the body of the butterfly. And these are the feelers. Now I pinched that, and I've got glue on my fingers because I pinch it with my fingers instead of my tool. So I have a wet rag here, and so I'm just gonna rub that glue off because I won't be able to touch. And then this is dry, so I'm drying my hand too. So a little wet, little dry. Now I can touch them again. Okay? Don't want to glue that to the paper here, so I move it around before the glue dries. There we go. Now we want to arrange the wings how we want them. So let's say we want these pink ones at the top. And I'm going to open my feelers up a little bit so they're not in the way. It's kind of fun to play with that. And I'm going to glue that on by putting a little bit of glue just on the bottom part of one edge. Okay, and I'm going to use my tool tweezers so that I can pull it nicer. And you want the body to be up a little bit from, or the body hanging down a little bit, I should say, hanging down a little bit from this part of the wings. Now you could pinch these bottom ones even after it's done, or pinch the top ones, doesn't matter. And you can kind of curl them a little bit if you want. Just do different things with it. Oops. Okay. The curling might be better to be done after it's all the way dry. Okay, it's gonna fly over here to be with its butterfly friend. Okay. That looks like a funny looking butterfly, but butterflies can look weird if they want, right?